When it comes to the history of automobiles, Citroen has been a brand that's been a pioneer in technology. They've done lots of advances in technology when it comes to cars, and they've had an interesting journey in India so far. But this by far is one of the most important products that Citroen's launching in India. This is the C3 Aircross. It's an SUV that aims to work in a segment which is very popular. The Creta, the Grand Vitara, the High Rider, all of those are its competitors. How is it to drive? Does it offer you anything new? Does Citroen make an intense package that you should really vouch for? Well, we're going to drive the C3 Aircross today and find out and answer all those questions for you. We're in Chennai by the water, that's why it's so windy, and well, you can see the view behind me, so I can't complain. Quite nice, but it is a bit windy. When it comes to design though, Citroen has always been a brand that's quirky, that's very French. They make a very particular kind of design, and the C3 Aircross is no different. You get the double chevron logo, you get a big grille, you get a nice white and black contrast. I'm not so sure about this white piece. I think it looks a little add-on, but otherwise it has an imposing presence. One of the things that you'll miss on the C3 though are LED or xenon headlights. It gets halogens, I think, which is a bit disappointing. I think they could have easily fitted at least xenons, if not halogens. You get a very good stance. You can see both the sides, the front and the rear. You can see the bulging design. It looks quite good. The 17-inch wheels look fantastic. And I think overall, between the black and white contrast, you also get multiple colors. You get black roof on 6 colors. So you can get a dual tone roof on 6 different colors. All of that design, for me at least, works really well. Even the rear is quite well done. The tail lights are interesting. They jut out of the body. They have a very interesting look. The tailgate is well done. So if you look purely at the design, I would think the C3 looks very Citroen. It looks very different and in a positive manner. I think it's a good looking car for the size. How is it on the inside? Well, let's sit inside and find out. Of course, Citroen's cars also have a lot of practicality built in, and one of those highlights I'll show you. The front doors, for instance, for access, open almost to 90 degrees. So getting in and out of the car is really, really easy. The quirky design theme of the Citroen C3 Aircross also carries inside. You get a triple tone, not even double tone, but a triple tone interior. You get 2 options. It's married to the colors that you buy. Either you get this anodized bronze or you get another option that is offered as standard. You also get leatherette seats with a combination of some cloth on them. Actually, the seats feel quite nice. It's quite comfortable to be sitting in this front seat. The steering is typical Citroen. You get this 10.25-inch touchscreen which works quite well. You get wireless Apple CarPlay and Android Auto, so that's an advantage the C3 Aircross has over some of its competition. You get another digital cluster in front of you that gives you all the information that you need as a driver. Some of the controls though are a bit hidden. I mean, the automatic start stop, all of these controls are located down here, which is not too intuitive. And you know, when it comes to equipment, which is a big thing, standard equipment today in Indian cars is so high. The C3 Aircross is a bit of a hit and a miss. You do not get automatic climate control, which I think is a bit of a bummer. You do not get a sunroof. You do not even get the option of an automatic gearbox. You only get one engine, one gearbox option, which is the 1.2 litre turbo, 110 PS, 190 Nm of torque, and a 6-speed manual. So I think Citroen's leaving out quite a bit of the target customer by not offering an automatic option at the very least. Of course, it's front wheel drive, manual handbrake. You get a charging port here, you get a couple of charging ports at the back, and like I said, at the equipment level, halogen lamps, lack of automatic climate control, sunroof, it's missing a point, but I think that would be countered if it comes at a very good price, which makes it good value for money, but that's something we'll come later to. What is interesting is in this segment, nobody offers a 5+2 as Citroen calls it, a 7-seater. They don't call it a 7-seater. They say it's a 5+2, knowing that the last bench, the third bench that they have in the car, is only meant for short trips for adults or children. Room is not that big. I mean, there's only so much you can do despite a long wheelbase. So that's one of the advantages it offers. So if you need an occasional 5+2 seater, the C3 Aircross in this segment is probably your only choice. How is it to sit in the rear and the third seat? Well, let's get in there and find out. Well, in the middle row, the things are quite good for the C3 Aircross. The driver's seat is set to my preference. I still have a decent amount of legroom available. I have a decent amount of headroom available. You even get a roof mounted air vent here, which is a segment first, as Citroen says. The back of the middle row is adjustable, but this is the maximum angle it goes to. And I think it feels fairly comfortable, even though I would have preferred a little more under thigh support. However, when it comes to width, yes, it's one of the widest cars in its class. So I think fitting 3 adults would not be a problem, but it will still be a tight fit. What happens if you get into the third row? Can I fit in there? Well, let's see. When it comes to accessibility, well, it's not too bad in the C3 Aircross, but the rear seat room, the third row, is quite cramped, as my colleague Parvesh will show you. It's going to be a tight squeeze for full-size adults. I think the last row is best suited for children, or like I said, remove the seats and use it for luggage. So like I said earlier, the C3 Aircross is the only car in its class that offers you a 5+2 seating option. There's also a 5-seater option. And just looking at the space, I would suggest that you stick to the 5-seater option, because if you have the 2 seats up, there is, well, no boot space. You can't even fit in a soft bag here. What you can do, I mean, thankfully Citroen has thought of that, is that you can actually remove these seats within 60 seconds and make a flat boot space. But looking at the space available, looking at how difficult it will be to get in and get out, I would suggest that 5+2 is probably not a practical option. I would stick to the 5-seater if I was looking to buy the C3 Aircross. Part of the reason that the C3 Aircross has so much space inside the cabin is because it has a pretty large 2671 mm wheelbase. It also has 200 mm of ground clearance. So while it's only front wheel drive, you can use it on rough roads. And that brings me to one of the biggest attractions of Citroens in general, and the C3 Aircross in particular. The suspension setup is absolutely terrific. Whether it's bad roads, it's good roads, it's low speed, high speed, the stability, the ride comfort is something that you should experience by yourself. The other point that brings me again now to the engineering of the C3 is that when I was at the launch at the global premiere where the C3 was shown in Delhi, I reckon that the 1.2 litre turbocharged engine that we've seen in the C3 regular and now also in the C3 Aircross, the only engine option, by the way, that's the 1.2 litre turbocharged petrol. I thought that it might feel underpowered at 108 bhp, 190 Nm, 110 PS of power. I thought that it might not be enough, but I'm happy to say that it actually is. It's actually a great engine. Driving it now, it revs really well. It's responsive. All above 1800 RPM, you've got all the torque and the power you need. Getting into 3-digit speeds is a breeze, and you know, in-gear acceleration when you're trying to go from, let's say, when I'm cruising on the highway here outside Chennai, I'm trying to go from 60 to 80 or 90. It's the response in any gear is absolutely terrific. I'm happy to say it's actually a really good car to drive. Okay, the steering could be better. It feels a bit too heavy. It feels a bit dead. But other than that, I mean, the engine's fantastic, the gearbox is really nice, the power delivery is great. The NVH, maybe one or two rivals that the C3 Aircross is aiming at could be better. But I think it's just a great car to drive. You've got a couple of front seats, you've got a good bench. The second row, third row, not so good, but driving, suspension, the whole driving appeal, the power delivery, all that feels really, really mature and really well done. I mean, if somebody had told me this is a 130 bhp car, I would have probably believed them. That's how well it drives. But it does have a few tricks missing. We'll come to the overall picture later, but some of the ergonomics could be better. Like on my door pad here, where I expect all 4 power window switches, they're not here, they're only front ones. The rear ones are here in the center console, which is a bit of an annoyance. Okay, not a deal breaker, but still. Secondly, I expect an unlock button on the door pad. That's not there. You have to lock and unlock your doors the old fashioned way, using the door lock here. Okay, again, something, not a deal breaker, but yeah, could be better. And like I said earlier, in the equipment front, it does lack a few things. Sunroof, ventilated seats, automatic option, halogen only headlamps, all of these things could have been better. But that brings me to the overall picture of the car. See, we don't know what the pricing of the C3 Aircross is as of now, and I think that's going to be the key component of whether the C3 is an attractive product or not. Is it nice to drive? Yes. Is it comfortable? Yes. Is it practical? Yes. Okay, maybe not practical in the 5+2 version, but in the 5-seater version with a 511-liter boot, it's got a lot of space. You can seat 5 adults, you can take them out for a weekend outing, not having to worry about space in the boot. You can do a airport run with your relatives coming in and their huge suitcases. All of that the C3 Aircross does very well. It does in great comfort. The suspension behaves beautifully. But what will ultimately boil down to is what price is the C3 Aircross going to be? Given its feature set, given its competency, given how it looks, given the size, I would think that if Citroen launches it, the top model of the C3 Aircross, at under 15 lakhs rupees ex-showroom, somewhere between 14 and 15, I would think it's a pretty good deal. Yes, you're missing a few features, but you're getting a great value for money car. So that, I think, will ultimately determine what happens to the C3 Aircross in the Indian market. The value for money deal, the price it is offered at, and the practicality it offers. Overall, a very, very competent package, but how it fares in India depends ultimately on how it's priced.